this part we will discuss small taxpayers, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, under GST. What are the opportunities, benefits available to small taxpayers, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, under GST? Now let's discuss the benefits available to small taxpayers, small and medium enterprises, SMEs, under GST. Taxpayers with an aggregate turnover in a financial year up to Rs 20 lakhs and Rs 10 lakhs for NE and special category states, include Northeast India, Sikkim, J&K, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, would be exempt from tax. Further, a person whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is less than Rs 50 lakhs can opt for a simplified composition scheme where tax will payable at a concessional rate on the turnover in a state. What is aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover shall include the aggregate value of all taxable supplies, exempt supplies and exports of goods and or services and exclude taxes vis GST. Aggregate turnover shall be computed on all India basis. Composition scheme under GST. Small dealers and businesses could opt for the composition scheme known as composition levy. Under this scheme, a composite taxpayer pays tax only at a certain percentage of his turnover. Threshold limit for composition scheme, NE and special category states, include Northeast India, Sikkim, J&K, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Aggregate turnover of the person having same PAN of above Rs 10 lakhs during the previous financial year but does not exceed Rs 50 lakhs. Others, rest of India. Aggregate turnover of the person having same PAN of above Rs 20 lakhs during the previous financial year but does not exceed Rs 50 lakhs. The government may increase the above said limit of 50 lakhs rupees to up to 1 crore rupees, on the recommendation of GST Council. Rate of tax under composition scheme shall not be less than, manufacturer 2% of the turnover in a state or union territory, trader 1%, supplier of food or drinks for human consumption 5% of the turnover in a state or union territory. Conditions for availing composition scheme. Following 5 categories of registered person are not eligible to opt for the composition scheme: supplier of services other than supplier of restaurant service, supplier of goods which are not taxable under the CGST Act, SGST Act, UTGST Act, and interstate supplier of goods, person supplying goods through an electronic commerce operator, manufacturer of certain notified goods. Registered person under composition scheme is not eligible to claim input tax credit. Customer who buys goods from registered person who is under composition scheme is not eligible for composition input tax credit because a composition scheme supplier cannot issue a tax invoice. The registered person under composition scheme is not permitted to collect tax. It means that a composition scheme supplier cannot issue a tax invoice. Aggregate turnover under composition scheme. Aggregate turnover include value of all outward supplies, taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export, interstate supplies, of a person having the same PAN and excludes taxes levied under central tax. CGST, state tax, SGST, union territory tax, UTGST, integrated tax, IGST, and compensation cess. Also, the value of inward supplies on which tax is payable under reverse charge is not taken into account for calculation of aggregate turnover. Return form for a composite taxpayer. A composite taxpayer is required to file quarterly return and annual return. Types of returns and details to be furnished are explained below. Form gst.for.sme is required to be submitted quarterly. Under Form gst.for.sme, auto-populated details of inward supplies made available to the recipient registered under composition scheme on the basis of Form gst.1 furnished by the supplier. Form gst.for is required to be submitted quarterly on 18th of succeeding month. Under Form gst.for, all outward supplies of goods and services including auto-populated details from Form gst.for and tax payable details. Details of any additions, modifications, or deletions in Form gst.for should also be submitted in Form gst.for. Form gst.9a is required to be submitted annually on the 31st of December of next fiscal. Under Form gst.9a, consolidated details of quarterly returns filed along with tax payment detail. In the current composition scheme, a composite dealer has to declare only the aggregate turnover of sales. He is not required to declare invoice-wise details. In GST, the composite taxpayer will file his returns with the invoice-wise details of inward supplies, which is auto-populated based on Form gst.1 filed by his supplier along with the aggregate turnover of outward supplies. Let's take a look. One of major negative impact of GST on SMEs. Currently, any manufacturer with a turnover of Rs 1.5 crore or less was not required to comply to the rules of excise duty. Under excise, manufacturers are eligible for small-scale industries exemption up to Rs 1.5 crore and jeweler up to Rs 8 crore. However, under GST, any manufacturer with a turnover of Rs 20 lakh, others, 10 lakh special category states, or more will have to comply with GST and its procedures. Please make the discussion interactive. Ask questions and post comments. We will come up with more videos on GST. Subscribe our YouTube channel and stay updated. Your feedback is important for us. Contact us at tldcdelhi@gmail.com or call us at 0999988235.